Ever wondered who would win in a fight to the death? A prime human male or a silverback gorilla? This isn't just a simple question. It's a deep dive into biology, physics, and the very nature of what makes us who we are. Forget what you've seen in movies. We're going to break down the real science behind this epic hypothetical matchup. Let's set the stage. We're not talking about just any human. We're talking about a peak physical specimen. Think of an elite mixed martial artist or a world-class strongman, someone who has dedicated their life to combat and physical power. And on the other side, an adult male silverback gorilla, the undisputed king of its domain. No weapons, no tricks, just a raw, primal contest of strength and will. First, let's talk about the gorilla. These animals are pure power. A male silverback can weigh over 400 pounds, sometimes even pushing 500, and it's not just weight, it's dense muscle and bone. Their arms are incredibly long and powerful, with a ridiculous arm span of up to 8 feet. Imagine the reach on that. They can lift or throw objects that are multiple times their own body weight. We've seen reports of them lifting over 1,800 pounds. That's like lifting a small car. The sheer force they can generate is almost unbelievable. A gorilla's bite is another terrifying weapon. Their canines are long and sharp, and their jaw strength is estimated to be around 1,300 psi. To put that in perspective, a lion's bite is about 650 psi. So, a gorilla bites twice as hard as the king of the jungle. A single bite could easily crush bone. Their skeletal structure is also built for brute force. Their bones are much denser than a human's, making them incredibly resistant to fractures. Their skull is thick, with a prominent sagittal crest on top where massive jaw muscles attach. This provides natural protection for the brain. Plus, their skin is tough and leathery, much thicker than ours, offering a natural layer of armor against cuts and scrapes. In terms of behavior, gorillas are generally gentle giants. They're herbivores and quite peaceful, unless provoked. But when they feel threatened, or their family is in danger, they can become incredibly aggressive. A charging gorilla is one of the most intimidating sights in the natural world. They'll beat their chests, roar, and charge with devastating speed and power. They don't fight like a trained boxer. They fight with pure, instinctual ferocity, aiming to overwhelm and dominate their opponent as quickly as possible. Their primary mode of attack would likely be a full-force charge, followed by grappling, biting, and pummeling with those massive fists. Now, let's look at the human contender. Our peak human athlete weighs in around 250 pounds of highly trained muscle. We're talking about someone at the absolute limit of human potential. Unlike the gorilla, the human's strength isn't just about raw power. It's about efficiency, technique, and endurance. Humans are arguably the best endurance runners in the animal kingdom. We can sweat to cool down, allowing us to maintain high levels of activity for extended periods. A gorilla, on the other hand, would overheat relatively quickly in a prolonged, intense struggle. This is a huge advantage for the human. If the fight could be drawn out, the gorilla would start to fatigue, while the human could potentially maintain their pace. But our biggest advantage isn't our body, it's our brain. The human brain is the most sophisticated weapon in the natural world. It allows for strategy, planning, and problem-solving in real time. A trained fighter doesn't just swing wildly. They analyze their opponent's movements, look for openings, and exploit weaknesses. They understand leverage, weak points, and tactics. Could a human fighter target the gorilla's eyes, throat, or joints? Absolutely. This ability to think strategically is something the gorilla simply doesn't possess on the same level. Our intelligence is what allowed us to climb to the top of the food chain, despite being physically weaker than many other predators. So, let's put him in the ring. The fight begins. The gorilla would likely start with an explosive, terrifying charge. The human's first and most critical challenge would be to survive this initial onslaught. A direct hit from a charging gorilla would be catastrophic. We're talking broken bones, internal injuries, instant knockout. The human's only hope is to use agility and footwork to evade the charge. Think of a matador dodging a bull. The human must stay mobile, stay on the outside, and avoid getting cornered or grabbed at all costs. If the gorilla gets its hands on the human, the fight is likely over in seconds. The strength difference is just too immense. A gorilla could literally tear a person's limbs off. It sounds gruesome, but it's the biological reality. So, the human strategy has to be one of evasion and attrition. Stick and move. The goal is to wear the gorilla down. The human fighter could try to land precise strikes to vulnerable areas. A powerful kick to the knee joint might destabilize the gorilla. A series of well-aimed punches or elbow strikes to the head could, in theory, cause a concussion. But the gorilla's thick skull makes this incredibly difficult and risky. Every strike the human throws is a risk, as it brings them closer to the gorilla's lethal reach. The human would have to be patient, chipping away at the giant, waiting for it to tire. The fight would become a battle of endurance versus raw power. However, we have to be realistic about the damage a human can inflict with bare hands. Can a human punch hard enough to seriously injure a 400-pound gorilla? It's highly unlikely. Professional heavyweight boxers generate immense force, but it's often directed at another human's head, which is a specific target. A gorilla's body is a solid mass of muscle and bone. It would be like punching a furry, angry wall. The human fighter would likely break their own hands long before they could cause significant damage to the gorilla's torso or limbs. The most viable targets would be the eyes or the throat. A successful eye gouge could blind the gorilla, drastically changing the fight. A strike to the throat could potentially damage the windpipe. But getting close enough to execute these attacks without being mauled is the million-dollar question. Let's consider the psychological aspect. The sheer terror of facing a raging silverback would be overwhelming for most people, even a trained fighter. The chest beating, the deafening roars, it's a display designed to intimidate and cause panic. Maintaining a clear strategic mind in the face of such primal fury would be an incredible feat of mental fortitude. The gorilla, on the other hand, fights on pure instinct and rage. It doesn't feel fear in the same way. It feels a threat, and its response is total, unrestrained aggression. So, after weighing all the factors, what's the verdict? In a vast majority of scenarios, the gorilla wins, and it's not even close. The sheer disparity in strength, power, and natural weaponry is too great to overcome. The human's intelligence is a powerful tool, but it can't make up for being physically outmatched by such a wide margin. A gorilla is 4 to 9 times stronger than an average man. Even a peak human is at a massive disadvantage. The fight would most likely end in the first few moments with the gorilla's initial charge and grapple. The only sliver of a chance for the human would depend on a perfect scenario. The human successfully evades the initial attack. The fight space is large enough to allow for constant movement, and the human manages to land a 1 in a million lucky shot to a critical weak point like the eyes or throat right at the beginning. But the probability of all these things happening is incredibly low. The gorilla is a walking, breathing powerhouse of nature. It's built for brutal, overwhelming combat in a way that humans simply are not. Our evolutionary path led us toward intelligence, tool use, and cooperation, not one-on-one brawls with 400-pound primates. So, while it's a fascinating thought experiment, the science and biology point to a clear winner. Respect the silverback. In a fair, one-on-one fight with no weapons, the king of the jungle keeps its crown. It's a humbling reminder that for all our intelligence and technology, we are still a part of the natural world, and there are forces of nature out there that are simply more powerful than we are. What do you think? Could a human ever stand a chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the animal kingdom.